What if the Sea Witch was not a monster at all? What if she was a woman that was written out of her own family's story? Welcome to Spellbound Studio. I'm Tracy, and this is Fan Art Friday. Before we get started, please become a star in the Spellbound constellation by liking, subscribing, commenting, or sharing. For ways that you can further support the studio, check the links in the description below. Okay, my stars, come sit in the circle and listen to the story of Ursula the Sea Witch. In The Little Mermaid, Ursula is remembered as a villain of glittering malice. She's part diva and part demon. She's a voice-stealing witch in a world built on beauty and obedience. But hidden in early drafts of the film was a revelation. Ursula was once meant to be King Triton's sister, Ariel's aunt. That small detail changes everything. Suddenly, her hunger for power looks less like evil ambition and more like maybe an inheritance that was denied to her. She was a royal cast out of her own palace, reshaped by resentment and banished to the ocean shadowlands. Before Disney's version ever shimmered across the screen, the story belonged to Hans Christian Andersen. In his 1837 fairy tale, there is no true villain. There is only pain, sacrifice, and the cold inevitability of transformation. The Sea Witch in Andersen's tale is not wicked. She's transactional, a figure of ancient power who trades in blood and consequence. She lives in a house of bones and sea serpents, surrounded by a garden of polyp-like creatures that grasp at anything near them. When the young mermaid comes to her, the witch does not trick her. She warns her that magic has a cost, and that love is the cruelest magic of them all. Disney turned that cautionary story into a spectacle of color and song. But in doing so, they created something else entirely. A witch that we cannot stop watching. If Ursula really had been part of the royal family, would we still see her as a villain or as the rightful heir returning from exile? Let me know what you think in the comments. Ursula's design famously drew inspiration from the drag performer Divine, the stage persona of Harris Glenn Milstead, a bold transgressive figure in the underground films of John Waters. Divine's exaggerated makeup, arched brows, and commanding presence gave Ursula her unforgettable look. Camp grandeur fused with genuine menace. But this was not just visual homage. It was an infusion of queer power. Divine embodied defiance, self-invention, and theatricality. These are traits that ripple through every frame of Ursula's performance. By reshaping her after a drag icon, Disney accidentally created one of its most subversive characters, a villain who queers the boundaries between gender, performance, and authority. Even her every gesture, every note of poor unfortunate souls, feels like a reclamation of voice and space. Precisely what the story's heroine has been taught to give up. If Andersen's witch traded in blood, Ursula trades in voices, and that is no accident. In The Little Mermaid, voice becomes the ultimate currency of control. Ariel gives hers up in exchange for the chance to be seen and desired. But Ursula's entire existence is voice. Thunderous, operatic, impossible to ignore. She does not whisper spells, she announces them. Her song, Poor Unfortunate Souls, is not simply a villain's show tune. It is a declaration of selfhood. Every lyric is delivered with the confidence of someone who knows she's been told that she's too much her whole life, and she has learned to make excess of her armor. Ursula's body and voice mark her as everything the patriarchal ocean fears. She's fat, she's loud, she's camp. The antithesis of Disney's streamlined princess ideal. Ariel's power lies in beauty and silence, but Ursula's lies in charisma and command. Even her magic revolves around transformation, a skill born from drag, performance, and self-invention. She teaches us that power, especially feminine power, often begins with pretending, performing until the act becomes a truth. But what's truly subversive is that Ursula never lied to Ariel about the cost. She tells her plainly what the trade will mean. She does not just steal Ariel's voice, Ariel gives it away. Just as women for generations have been conditioned to sacrifice their voices for love, acceptance, or belonging, Ursula simply holds up the mirror. On a mythic level, Ursula is more than just a witch. She is the ocean's shadow. King Triton embodies order, lineage, and law. Ursula represents what the sea truly is. It is wild, it is ancient and untamable. She is the storm to his calm surface. She is the tide that will not stay contained. Her lair, all those tentacles in the glowing caverns, they're less like a home and they're more like the sea's subconscious. The place where forbidden things sink and transform. When she rises to power near the end, she wields the trident and commands the waves. It's not just a villain's rampage, it is nature's reckoning. In myth, chaos and order are never enemies. They are partners in an eternal cycle. But Disney's story cannot allow balance, it just demands victory. Ursula's destruction is portrayed as a restoration of peace. Yet, it feels like something cosmic being sealed away again. The sea quiets, not because the evil is gone, but because power has been repressed. In this sense, Ursula's fall mirrors the oldest myths. The binding of the monstrous goddess, the silencing of primordial feminine forces. She does not die. She returns to the depths, and she waits for the next woman bold enough to wield the chaos she once commanded. Ursula's fall is one of Disney's grandest spectacles. Lightning waves and a ship's splintered bow piercing the heart of the storm. But beneath the spectacle lies a quieter truth. Her defeat restores a kind of peace that depends on her absence. The ocean calms, the rightful king reclaims his throne, and the young woman finds her voice again. Though only after the witch who dared to own her voice had been erased. On the surface, it's the natural end of a fairy tale, but beneath it, this story keeps repeating itself. The silencing of chaos, the punishment of power, and the reassertion of order built on erasure. On a mythic scale, Ursula's death is not a moral punishment, but it's a ritual sealing. She is the ocean's shadow being folded back into the depths, the same way ancient goddesses of chaos were defeated and bound to make way for patriarchal order. In killing her, the narrative closes the circle, returning to comfort and structure, but that balance is only possible because the parts of feminine deemed monstrous, ambition, sensuality, defiance, have been locked away again. She's too much for her world, and that is why the world wants her to be gone. Culturally, Ursula's downfall reads like the tragic end of the queer and the feminine grotesque. She is punished for existing too vividly. She is not evil, she is excessive. She occupies too much space, she has too much presence, and she does not apologize for anything. The same traits that make her magnetic are precisely what doom her. Her destruction allows the film to reset its binaries: man and woman, king and witch, silence and song. This is to tie to the chaos that made the story interesting in the first place. But here's the thing. Ursula never really disappears. She is still in the collective imagination. She lives on in memes, drag performances, fan art, and reinterpretations that reclaim her as an icon of resistance. Because deep down, audiences recognize that she represents something enduring. The dangerous, delightful truth that power does not have to be pure to be worth wielding. In the end, Ursula's story is not about a witch destroyed by her own magic. It's about a woman who was never meant to exist in the first place, but she existed anyway. Her fall is a warning, but her legacy is a promise. Chaos never dies, it just waits for the next storm. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, do you see Ursula in a different light? I would like to ask the question again. If she truly had been part of the royal family, would we still see her as a villain or as the rightful heir returning from an exile? Maybe The Little Mermaid was never just about a girl finding her voice. Maybe it was about what happens when a woman dares to keep her voice. And maybe the real reason Ursula endures is not because she's a monster, but because she was never supposed to survive the story at all. Alright, my stars, that is it for me today. Thank you for this diving deep with me into Ursula the Sea Witch. If you enjoyed the exploration of myth, feminism, and the sea's forgotten witch, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own thoughts below. I would love to hear how you see Ursula now. Until next time, stay spellbound.